Welcome, everybody, to the Big League Trade Deadline podcast with Paul and Chris. Hey,
Hey,
Chris.
what's going on? You know, let's
Mm,
it's round two of this.
Yeah, let's try this again. So, we didn't do a preseason podcast, so we thought we'd do a trade deadline podcast. A little shorter than the preseason podcast we usually do, but just take a look at the 2013 season, see how things are going, criticize some GMs, and maybe say some positive things as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's start things off with the best division in baseball, the Ruby division,
Why the Ruby division?
because we're the best.
Okay, I agree.
I think everybody would agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's debatable.
Yeah, hard to
Um,
disagree. Hard to disagree.
yeah, yeah. Let's go from the top down, I guess. The Bighorn Rams and Johnny's team, 61 and 44 going into the deadline. It's been a super quiet trade deadline. Seems like no one's really making any moves this year. Last year we had a shitload of fucking big ass deals right at the deadline, and this year everybody's kind of got cold feet, and maybe they're just waiting for that shoe to drop for Denver to win his third championship in a row, and they don't want to invest. But seems like there's a lot of teams in it right now, so you would think some deals fly between today's podcast and the deadline tomorrow at 10 a.m. Just a reminder for everybody.
We shall see. We shall see.
I suppose so. If you're a shitty team, hopefully you're trying to sell some pieces and bring in some assets. If you're a good team, hopefully you're trying to push and win something. But I don't know. We'll figure it out and see what people do. What do you think of Bighorn's team? So, Johnny's been on the up and up, so to say, right?
Since last August.
Since before that, he's made the
Yeah.
playoffs the last two seasons. He's been in the conference championship 2 seasons ago, and then he made it to the TBL finals last season. I think he ended up winning one or two games against. I think he won two games. I think he
I think he
went to
won
game
two
six.
games. Yeah, I think he went to game
Yeah.
six.
So, well, he's back and going to make the playoffs again. That's a no-brainer with how bad the Fire Conference is this year. I think the last wild card team is 7 games under 500, which is horrendous.
I can't believe I
Uh,
am considered a playoff team, but yeah.
yeah. I mean, we have two teams looking to make the playoffs with sub 500 records in the Fire Conference. That's how imbalanced things are right now. Um, but hey, that's the way it works sometimes. 61 and 44, certainly a good cushion in the Ruby division with a 7-game lead, and then 12 games up on wild card, or 11 games up on the wild card. Not 12 games, I was right.
Yeah.
Pretty much a lot going in down the stretch. I don't know if he's going to try to improve his team at all. He's got a pretty good team. But yeah, let's take a look at his team and see if there's anything worth upgrading. So first of all, Chris, above or below your expectations here? How do you think the Bighorn Rams are?
I think they're at where I think they should be.
I agree. I kind of had them preseason picking to. I was picking them preseason to win the division.
Yeah.
So no surprise that they're in first place. They've got some superstars on the team. Joe Butts is having another great year. He's in the 4 spot in the rotation this year, but he was kind of their workhorse in last year's playoffs, and he's got the lowest ERA on the team. He's tied for the league in strikeouts. Him and Josh Miller, this other guy on Bighorn, both of them are just kind of like dual aces, and this is Josh Miller's 4th season. He's been good every single year. Probably should be a household name at this point, but not sure if he is.
Not in my household.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, if you look at his stats, though, going back 4 years, he has not had a bad year. He's been
Yeah.
super good every single year. 54 and 36 career record, 3.38 career ERA. Pretty nice piece, but he definitely has a really, really good rotation led by those two guys. Cole Bowden's a decent 4 starter. Matt Shelton is probably his number 3. Also very good. So they're really a pitching-led team. They have been for the last few years. Looking at their team stat rankings, I mean, you can kind of see that backed up through. We have 5 sims left, so we're 9 sims into the season. 5 sims to go. And they lead the league in bullpen ERA. So they've got, we just talked about starters, but they have the best bullpen in the Fire Conference. The starters ERA is 4th in the Fire Conference. Pretty good. Runs against 3rd. So up and down the board in pitching, they're pretty talented. And they've got like an average defense to kind of back that up to supplement the pitching. I would say their offense is kind of mid, right?
Yeah, it's mid, but like you said, if they got some of the best pitching staff, it doesn't really, you don't need to have the best hitting, but it's probably explains like why he's probably, he'd be in 3rd place in the Topaz division,
Yeah. I like their lineup in terms of like the top. They've got speedsters in the 1 spot, like Aponte.
He stole Aponte from Milwaukee, huh?
Yeah, and he's on pace for 114 steals this year, which might be a league record. I'd have to look at that.
Wow.
Let's see. What's the single season record? 101 stolen bases is the record. So he's on pace to crush that right now.
Amazing. And he's hitting 311 as well. So
yeah, I mean that helps when you're a fast guy and you're always on base, right?
Yeah.
So Aponte's playing really well at the top of the lineup. David Lawyer is also pretty quick. The dude's on pace for 60 steals, which would be a career high. He's been super good the last few years. And I just feel like his middle of the lineup, not the type of power that, maybe you always want from a 3-4 hitter. I traded him Lakitis a couple seasons ago, and the dude's been really, he's been okay. He's been okay. He was super on fire in the postseason.
Aaron Kranz, he's not like living up to his postseason.
Yeah, he was
numbers.
3-time series MVP last year during the run last year.
Yeah.
He's still a nice piece.
I just remember calling his name a lot. So.
Yeah, he's a great fielder. He's one of the best center fielders defensively in the league right now. And he's very fast. But yeah, I think, this team, if anything, their one weakness is just having that power hitter that can drive in a lot of runs in one swing of the bat. You want to go to their pitching tab? Take a look here, see who's doing what. Sort by our war. Kind of like my favorite.
Yeah, Joe Butts, Josh Miller, his top 2.
Yep, his closer is right there as well, having a great season. 2.45 ERA, 36 saves already. I feel like that's also maybe on pace for a record. He's on pace for 56 saves, and the single season career record is 50. So yeah, he's got a couple guys on record-breaking pace this year.
Amazing. Incredible.
Yep. And I guess when he plays a lot of games against this Ruby division, which is the best in baseball, it can lead to some pretty solid stats. What about his lineup? Let's take a look at that real quick. Again, sorting by, we're looking at the defense here, and that's a good thing to look at. So yeah, Aaron Krentz.
Yeah, 7.9.
Yeah, it's pretty good zone ratings there. So good defenders there. Looks like he does have a liability in left field in respect to Jim Johnson there, who's definitely struggled on the defensive side of things.
Yeah.
And unless he's got like good offense, Jim Johnson, not the best guy in terms of offense right now. So maybe an upgrade there if he's looking to do anything at the trade deadline. And yeah, let's take a look at the batting stats real quick. We'll see Johnson's kind of pretty average. Hitting 280 right now. It's not terrible, but Jim Johnson has 53 strikeouts. I thought this said 53 steals. It's like, how the fuck is that guy so fast? But yeah, this is a pretty quick team. Look at that stolen base column over there. Aponte and Lawyer we talked about, but I mean, 17 steals from Justin Marshall. I actually love Justin Marshall. We should talk about him. The dude can hit home runs and he can steal. Obviously, he was that Rule 5 pick that you lost. That's what he's infamous for.
Yeah.
And having a down season, look at that statistically. 4.6 WAR last year. He's down to 0.6 this year. So he's dropped off a little bit here at the age of 27, pushing 28. But I do like the fact that he can hit home runs and steal bases. So yeah, I think Bighorn is a pretty, again, set in stone playoff team. I think they'll win the division. I mean, I'm certainly not going to catch them,
Yeah, I think
and
they're going to
everybody
win the
else is
division.
even worse than I am. So you can see his team position rankings there are all pretty solid outside of shortstop and catcher.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts
Good
on this
team
team?
winning the division. Gonna kick your ass. I know that for sure. Kicking my ass. So yeah.
Yep. Yep. I guess it's all about, how deep does he go in the playoffs? Because when you've been to the conference championship back-to-back years, expectations are set. It's not just about getting to the postseason now. It's about getting over the hump, as they say.
Yeah.
Next up, happy to talk about my team a little bit, the Oahu Paddlers.
Just hovering above 500.
Yeah, well, we just had a 7-game lose streak that we're on right now, so that hurt. We were like 10 or 11 games up, but I've made some deadline deals. I'm not afraid this year to shake it up a little bit. I've got one of the best systems in baseball, so I had some assets to play with. Just talking about those trades real quick. I sent, excuse me, I sent my backup catcher Jeremiah McRae to the Seals in basically a salary dump. Dude is making 20 million a year, and he's playing off the bench right now because I've got a young catcher who's really good in Pete Barrett there. Barrett's one of the better catchers in the game now, in just his first full season. So yeah, McRae shipped out, and I sent a bunch of assets to make that happen. I did take Craig Seidel back too from San Diego, a good starting pitcher to kind of boost the depth of my rotation because my pitching hasn't been terrible, but I could definitely improve a little bit there. And I sent 3 like prospects. One of them is on a pretty long injury. Another one's a first baseman, although he's got good potential. And then Carlos Ramirez, a center fielder, could potentially be a good piece someday. So I think it was a pretty even trade between us, but time will tell with that, I guess. But my big addition this year was Zach Coster, the two-way player. Picked him up in free agency, and he's really boosted my team both on the rotation side of things and also in the lineup. It is shocking that my leader has 10 home runs. I don't have anybody with more than 10 home runs right now. That's fucking insane, dude. I'm 12th out of 16.
70.
There's 4 teams with less home runs than I have. That's amazing. But yeah, what do you think about expectations?
Well,
What do you think?
I think you had a down year last year. Am I correct on that? Because I think because the year before you made the playoffs, so
Correct. I made the playoffs the year before. I think that was kind of a surprise.
it was a
I had kind of
surprise to
been leading
you.
the division every season. Yeah,
And
I
then
led the division all season and then
you crumbled
made it
last
into
year. And then
77 and 85 with
so
4
I
games.
think you're picking up where you picked up pieces where you missed out on last year, and I think the addition of Zach Coster helps out because he's picks up on 2 sides of the ball. He's hitting 284 and leading your team in home runs right now, and
Yeah,
he's also your ace. So
I'm moving into my window. I think I'm going to be a team to compete over the next few seasons. I've really worked hard to build my system. If you look, I actually minor league system rankings, I'm third still. So I still have got a ton of talent in my system that's going to be coming up over the next few years. And I'm on the cusp of being competitive. Like some of my young guys here, if you want to take a look, John Bechtel at the leadoff spot. This is his second season. And he's great. I mean, he's still developing, but he's put up 4.2 WAR last year. What's he on pace for this year? 5.2 WAR this year. So he's a quality player playing over at left field. So I'm pretty excited to have him. Danny Ontiveros just came up on call-up day here, my number 2 hitter. And again, he can play the outfield. He's nothing super special. He's unmotivated, but he's been putting up great numbers in the minor leagues. And so I'm hopeful he'll be a contributor, at least for the next few seasons. Obviously, talked about Coster. Kenny Morgan, I want to say, was like Rookie of the Year a few seasons ago.
no, he was not.
No? Oh. Well, poo. I mean, he was still really good. He put up 6 WAR as a rookie, so I don't know who beat him, but that's ridiculous.
Guy's a chump for not winning Rookie of the Year.
Mike Poo, take a look at that guy. I actually don't know where I got Mike Petrino, but he's been surprisingly good, my number 5 hitter.
You made a trade with yourself.
Trade with Oahu. Oh, that's fascinating. Interesting. Well, we don't have to look at that. Commissioner hijinks. But no, I mean he's a captain and he's pretty talented. So like I think he's going to be a piece of my club for a long time moving forward. Just at the age of 26. So my lineup's there. If you look at the team stat rankings, I'm top 3 in most offensive categories right now. And then it's really except for home runs, and apparently I have no speed. Steals and base running also suck. But it's really my pitching that's a problem, and hopefully that I can address moving forward. Outside of Coster, I've really no talent. Some decent ERAs actually, but no one's amazing. Pat Maynor, I can't find. I just traded for a closer, or I've been talking to like 5 teams about a closer. So I haven't pulled the trigger on that yet, but I think I'm going to have a new closer by tomorrow, and Pat Maynor can kind of slide down and be good. I mean, if you look at Pat Maynor's rankings, I don't understand why he's bad. He shouldn't be the best closer in baseball, but come on, he's definitely underachieving.
You're putting too much pressure on him.
I guess some guys just can't handle the limelight like that, right?
Yep.
And I did trade for Nick Kennedy, so my shortstop Tom Schwartz there is more like a shift him back to second base. I'm going to drop my second baseman Gallegos, who's not really good. He's hitting under 200, and I'm bringing in Nick Kennedy, who's been on a couple playoff teams, taken him from Las Vegas here, and I traded away a top 100 prospect in Patrick Saul to make that happen. So yeah, Eddie Flores 7-0. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's take a look at my pitching real quick page. Again, no one is really a superstar team, pitching wise. Coster's pitching okay, but I mean it's not like superstar quality.
Yeah, it definitely reflects on your pitching stats.
Yep. You can look at my lineup, and really, I noticed as I was, I feel like I'm in a good position with how bad teams are. I think I'll make the playoffs. I could obviously collapse, but I think adding a couple pieces is going to keep me afloat and then give me a chance. But looking at my fielding stats, for example, like I had a couple liabilities that I identified, and so that's why I traded for a shortstop. Like look at my zone rating there. Like Jesus Christ, my center fielder. If anybody has a center fielder, hit me up. -20 zone rating is not it. Doesn't make me a winner. Tom Schwartz again, -13 zone rating, but he gets slung into the shortstop position. He's better at second base. He was just filling after I had an injury, so trying to address those 2 big holes in my defense, and then hopefully that'll improve the pitching a little bit, and then it'll supplement the really good offense.
Yeah,
that's my thought process.
Not bad. Yeah, I agree. I think you're going to. I think you're going to be fine. Make the playoffs. Probably one and done.
Maybe. We've had a couple magical runs out of the Fire Conference. I mean, I would say your chance is pretty crazy. Louisville was the worst wild card, and they won a championship in 2004, 2005. And Bighorn 2 seasons ago, when they lost in the conference championship to Milwaukee, they were not a good team either. They were just barely snuck in. So the Fire Conference has a history of like rewarding teams for just making the playoffs.
You made it. Yay.
I made it. It's like that Beyonce and Jay-Z song. Yeah, that's my team. Who's next? The San Antonio Chiles Picantes. And under new management. I think it was this year is his first season.
I believe so. I believe you're correct.
Yeah, so departing was Michael, and in came, or actually, what was he going by? His name was Michael, but he's going by K. But yeah, in comes Daryl. Daryl plays in my other league in Skyline, and he, I tried to pull his closer from him. Full disclosure, John Silver there, really like his closer. But he's going to try to make a playoff push, he said. And why not? He's on the cusp of that last wild card spot. So yeah, what do you think of San Antonio? Above or below your expectations? right now?
I would say below because they're below 500, and I expect them to be a playoff team. I think
I would agree.
they've been on the cusp every year in the past couple of years. I mean, they won the division a couple of years ago, so um,
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that.
so I'd say they're underperforming. But if he's making a push and trying or holding pat, it's not a bad idea for him.
Yeah, so San Antonio's had a winning record 5 straight seasons. They made the playoffs 3 of those 5 seasons. So they've after having like a 5-year playoff drought, they've been on the up and up, and they've been one of the competing teams in the Ruby. So is this manager error? Daryl together and get them to the playoffs, or is this just some guys starting to decline and get to that point where their careers are going to start going the other direction? So he still is one of the best pitchers in baseball, right? We talk about him every year, Terrence Mason.
It looks like he's
This
having
guy's a stud.
as a win loss year. He's having a down year, but
Yeah, but I mean, a 2.58 ERA, you have to think that's the offense.
yeah,
I mean, that's the career best ERA, or maybe not career best,
yeah.
but best in a couple of seasons.
His WAR is down as well too, but
Yeah, I don't like WAR. Again,
I
I'm
know you
more of
don't
an
like
R WAR
WAR.
guy. Yep, he's got 3.7 R WAR right now.
That's good.
Yeah, so he's having a decent season. I think he's still throwing a ton of innings. His WHIP is about the same. I'm just looking at different metrics. Yeah, I mean, his BABIP's right around 300, so it's not like you can't point to luck in any direction. His strikeouts are definitely down a little bit, but I mean, and he has Dev down a little bit, right?
Yeah,
So again, he's moving that direction. He's 35 years old,
yeah.
bound to happen, but he's still a super strong piece, the 2-time pitcher of the year there. So looking at this team stat rankings, right? Like his
Offensively, he's not
pitching,
there.
his offense sucks. We'll talk about it in a second, but his pitching is actually kind of below average.
Yep.
And that's why this team's 7 games under 500. Not good in either direction right now. Like looking at the rest of his team, he's got some, like, if you're just looking at ratings, right? He's got some good players. Like Travis Michaels there, 26 years old. Looks like he's going to be a future stud. He's in his 3rd season already, 4th season. And he's not fully developed. He's 60 out of 70, the number 2 pitcher on the team.
Well,
You've got him at 65. My head scout's got him at 60. Osei 65. But like he still has pieces. I feel like his rotation should be good.
mm-hmm.
He does only have 12 pitchers on the roster, and again with a 28-man roster, I'm not really sure why he doesn't a little more depth and just like give these guys some breathing room. Seems like he's got a lot of guys pitching a lot of innings right now, or a few guys pitching a lot of innings. But up and down, outside of his number 5 pitcher in the rotation, like he's got good starters. Like Alex Fisher isn't terrible. And these guys have all been on the team for multiple years. There's nothing new here. Like, these are the guys that have been pitching well for him for multiple seasons. I honestly think he needs to just add some depth to his pitching staff.
Yeah, I agree.
What are your thoughts on the offense? Obviously, we looked at those stat rankings. Not great.
Oh yeah, the zone ratings probably is what's killing him. He's got a lot of guys in the negative right there, but he has guys in the positive. His second baseman's good.
Yeah, to me, his defense looks pretty average. I mean, you're right. He's got like some good guys and some bad guys.
And offensively,
No red flags though there.
offensively, yeah, he's only got one guy above 2 WAR, and I can see why this team's struggling. But I think his pitching is carrying his team, honestly, and it's declining. So
Yeah, I mean,
and it
Brobeck's
could be
obviously
straining. It's straining his team. So
Yeah, Brobeck's obviously a stud, so you can't say much about him. Another team without, I feel like there's not a lot of home runs being hit right now. Just look at this. He's 10th out of 16 teams in the Fire Conference. Only has 80 home runs through, 90, 105 games. So,
Yep.
not a lot of power here.
Yeah,
And
he has only two guys hitting over 10 home runs, and one of them's got 11.
yeah, what is the league leader at? I'm curious. I'm going to look at the standings page. 29 home runs for the league leader, 26. So 20 home runs plus is where the league leaders are at right now, which again seems pretty low. Like it's not the days where we're hitting 40, 50, 60 home runs from some guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder why that is. I wonder if this is just an era where pitching's kind of taking over or what. But yeah, no, I don't like his lineup at all. He's got all lefties pretty much, except for two righties and a switch hitter. So he definitely goes hard with the lefties. And honestly, looking at his ballpark, it's a little harder for lefties to hit home runs. Like it's a pitching park anyways. Like all his like ballpark factors lean towards the ball staying in the park. And lefties do hit a little better for average here. It's a good place to hit in the gap. But yeah, his offense hasn't been great. Joe Lipka's been a solid guy for him over the years. He's having a down season in the leadoff spot. Tyler Trunick is a rookie, and he's been bad, straight bad. He's also a guy that puts out the bare minimum of effort. So, fuck that guy. Another guy put up 5 WAR last season, Reynaldo Espargosa. Right now is negative 0.2 WAR. So, has been straight bad, and I don't know if any of that has to do with defense. Probably a little bit. He's played third base a little bit, and he's a 20 overall at third base. So that's not really great. But Matt Demalga, another rookie, who's unmotivated. This guy's a really nice defensive catcher, though. I actually don't hate this guy. If you look at Demalga there, number 5, 70 blocking, 70 framing.
Yep.
So he could be a future piece for the Picantes.
If he ever gets motivated.
Right. He's got a lot of bad personalities on this team.
Yeah.
But that team chemistry is a little rough.
Yeah, I think this team's got a rough road ahead of him, but I think he has a chance of making the playoffs, judging by, the the status of the Ruby division right now. Things can change for him.
Yeah. I would say, I mean, again, he does have some brilliant pieces too. He's not selling. So, he's going to ride it out with these guys and maybe try to rebuild around a few of these guys next year. But John Silver is one of the best closers in the game. He's got 3 sexy pitches. 25 years old. He's extremely popular. His nickname is Babyface, which is, a win. And Victor Perez, his left fielder, is also the second best left fielder in the game, the team position ranking. So, having kind of a down year, but that dude's nice as well. He's not terrible. But yeah, we'll talk about it in who we think is going to make the playoffs. But they're definitely on the cusp, along with pretty much the whole Fire Conference. All these teams, as bad as they are, all have a chance right now. So,
which is crazy to believe.
Yeah, maybe one of these shitty teams makes a trade deadline, takes an advantage over these other teams. Who knows?
Absolutely. So we'll talk about the next team, I guess, huh?
Oh, we could skip over them if you want.
We could. I mean, no.
Let's talk about the Squatches.
My team. My old team.
Talk about the Squatches. You remember this team last year? They were like dominating the conference, dominating the division, and then somehow blew like a 10-game lead on September 1st and lost it to Bighorn. And then you did almost recover in the playoffs, but but one and done.
One and done. Yeah, I knew it was happening. I knew it the whole time. I was very surprised I was owning for that long, but shit happens. Out of the park does out of the park things. So
Yeah.
I have a good offense. I will say that.
Oh, so are you above or below your expectations?
Right now, I would say I'm at where I think I should be, middle of the pack. I mean, I think my all stars have are past their prime, are injury prone. Um, like Wayne Williamson. JJ June didn't live up to his expectations. I thought he was going to be a better player. He had a couple good years in the beginning, but he's just fallen below average. He's a good defensive catcher, but Macio's turned out to the way I expected. He's a good player. Um, he's not like I drafted him 1-1, so he's good, but I guess I could have waited and got somebody better. But oh well, I like him. Eccles is doing great. These are all like Eccles and Maciel are they're my like young guys, but other than that, it's a bunch of old guys and free agents I've picked up because I got rid of Adam Bashir, my catcher. This year is my first year without my catcher. So I basically have lost every single one of my inaugural draft players. So they're all gone, I believe. I don't think I have any left.
Yeah, and it's 2013, so that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, it is a good thing. Yeah, yeah. But he was, I think I drafted him at like 19 years old, and he was big league ready or something like that. He was really young, so I knew I could keep him for the long haul when I drafted him. So my
You do have a
pitch,
couple long-time stalwarts, like from 2002, like Scott Kinney and Wayne Williamson are both from that draft class.
yeah, yeah, some long time like Wayne Williamson. He's an old man now, and he's fragile, and he's having a great year right now. He's having a
He's shockingly only 32. And if you think about that, that's pretty crazy because like Maciel, who you're saying is your young stud, is 28. You
I
know?
know
So,
he's
like
yeah
they're
he's
only 4 years apart.
yeah they're only 4 years apart. Eccles is
They're about
23.
five, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike
Yeah,
Marino's
Eccles is definitely your brightest piece, I think, on this team.
yeah he is my brightest piece. I don't think he's a second baseman, but that's where I got him playing. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, we talked about that offline. We'll look at that in a second. But I agree. He needs to shift over to first, probably DH, that kind of thing.
yeah, my pitching staff I think is where it should have been. I tried upgrading. It's hard. Yeah, there's not much out there, and I don't have unlimited funds, so you can do what you can do. I
Yeah,
mean,
pitching's definitely a challenge.
I
And your
think
pitching staff is pretty bad.
my last year was a surprise for me, to be honest with you, that I made the playoffs. I had optimism this year because I did make the playoffs, and like you say, like I said, I have a good offense. My offense is second in runs scored and top five batting average and fifth in home runs and all that stuff and pretty good steals, but my pitching staff is hot garbage. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
tried
your
to,
offense is still pretty good.
and by looking at it, my defense is hot garbage as well. So
Well, I was telling you that offline. I think a big part of your problem is your defense is so bad it's making your pitching staff,
yeah,
which could be a little better, look way worse.
yeah,
So those things are
I think
definitely
the
some red
age
hand in
I
there.
think the age of my players right now is showing. You know, it's showing itself by being very dropsy, probably with the ball, having a lot of errors. So
I don't know if I totally agree with that. I mean, your oldest guy is like in their 32 and 33. They're not like pushing 40.
yeah, I guess
So
so.
I mean,
But they're
yeah,
regressing.
I think,
That's why I call them their old guys. But they've been on my
yeah,
team
that's
forever.
yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, you've had a core that's been together for a long time.
so I think it's time to break up the band.
Yeah, when I look at your team, I think you're below expectations a little bit. Again, I would think you 500. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
maybe you have a late season push in you to claim that last wild card. Who knows? But I'm getting the sense that you're probably not making a deadline. Or are you? Are you selling? Are you buying? Or are you just sitting put?
I'll put it this way. I'm a lot of my players are available that are willing to move. I'm listening to offers. I will throw. I will. I haven't had time. I've been working a lot, so if I've got messages from you,
It's the old excuse of life.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know it's true. I do got a life. What
Yeah.
do you got to say?
Yeah. I mean, you've been unemployed all summer, so
I know.
it's
Now
nice
I'm
to get
finally
back to
working.
working again. Welcome to the real world where
I know.
you're actually able to compete and play with your team. But yeah.
I know. And then I was out of town, but yeah. Yeah. No, I'm taking offers. If I got good offers, I'll take them. Like most of my players are available. I mean, Eccles is available. I'd give him up, but he's going to cost you a lot. Um, so I like him. He's a good hitter. Uh,
I gotta say, I feel like you could do a little thinking. Just I'm looking at your page now and sorting by our war. I mean, you've got Tony Morales' team, and he's fucking hot garbage.
yeah, yeah. I
And
don't.
maybe he came up too soon.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, minus 2.5 our war, dude. That's
I just don't have better options.
I think even if you bring up a guy with lower ratings who's like performing in your AAA right now, I think it's a better option than Morales there in your 5 spot. But you're right. I mean, a lot of these guys are struggling. You can't replace the pitching staff, so it's not going to solve your issues.
No,
But that's just one example of like where you can improve it
you need like a whole
if you
pitching
are trying to
staff,
sneak into that last spot.
which I don't think I'm gonna get into it because there's a lot of players, a lot of teams, like right there. And then
Yeah,
my offense is not too bad, not too shabby, not the best.
yeah. I think the other thing we talked about offline. Now we're on the podcast, I'll bring up again, but several defensive liabilities. Like, I
Yeah,
mean,
oh
big
yeah,
time liabilities. Guys who should not be playing where they're playing. We're talking negative 10 zone
ratings,
ratings for
fielding
Wayne
stats.
Williamson, negative 12.5. As good as Zach Eccles is, this dude has 4 WAR with a negative 12 zone rating. That's how good his offense is. But his
Yeah,
fucking defense is atrocious at second. And then your shortstop is not a shortstop. He's
no, yeah, exactly. I
maybe a
don't
third
have a
baseman, maybe a
shortstop
second baseman.
either. I've been looking for
Yeah,
what I want and I can't find it. So it is what it
yeah,
is.
that's challenging to
It
find a
is.
shortstop.
So
Even your center fielder at this point is probably a left fielder or a right fielder.
yep.
So I mean, when four out of the 9 guys in your lineup, or
Which I
excuse me,
don't which
four
I
out of the
don't get. I think they're
8 guys,
okay. I think
they're
they're
not.
okay of stats, but I don't think he should be that bad. But it is what it is. I tried finding that center fielder too. I thought he could plug and play there, but guess was wrong. So
Yeah, I think again when you're talking about center field, like range is so 60 range is good for the corners, but for center field, you're probably not going to get to a lot of balls that other guy.
yeah, I mean, I was gonna be somewhat competitive. I didn't think I was gonna win the division or anything. So I don't know. That's what my team is.
Yep.
I think it's
Yeah.
break up the band time for my team. That's what it is. So
Yeah. I feel like you said that going into last season too, and then you made the playoffs.
I mean, I had to play. I was first in division at
I'm saying
trade
going
deadline.
in because we did preseason podcasts. I think you were talking about breaking up the band, and then you made the playoffs. So
Well, yeah, I was first in division for the longest time. I had the playoffs, and
you know.
then and I was like, well, why break up the band if they're rocking it? So
Yeah. Yep.
so
But yeah, you're sitting there tied for the last wild card spot with San Antonio. So I mean, a lot of guys right there in striking distance.
a
But I
lot
mean,
of
honestly,
teams.
Louisville's a game up on you, and that's second of 3 wild cards. So there's like 2 positions for the taking there out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 7 teams are fighting for 2 spots basically.
Yeah,
I guess you could throw St. Louis in there somehow. So 8 teams. But all right, who's next?
Vancouver.
Vancouver and Bob's team. And I got to tell you, I don't know what Bob's strategy is from year to year. This dude doesn't spend any money. He's got like 60 million available. And I feel like if he just supported some of the guys that do play well on his team with a couple of free agent signings, trading for someone, or even if he's competing, take a salary dump like San Diego just did and bring in some more assets. But he just kind of sits on his money and just not sure what his strategy is or if he has one.
Yeah, it's kind of yeah.
What do you What do you think of how he's doing so far? Above or below your expectation?
Well, I would say I would say above expectations, but because of reasons why you said what you said for.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like he's. I mean, so last year, I mean, he's right on the cusp, right? He's been improving and improving. This has been a dumpster fire since the beginning of TBL. He took over. I forget what year, 2005, 2006. He hasn't made the playoffs since. But this team hasn't been in the playoffs since 2003. But last year, he got this team up to 79 and 83. He was like right there on the cusp. So I think he did. You know, I think he might have been away for a couple of games this offseason, so that kind of hurt him, right? But yeah, I just like I don't get it when you have $60 million free. Like bring someone in. There must be people sitting in free agency, so that could be better on your team than what's currently on it. Um, so he's got enough cash to maybe do something. Who knows? Like look at Chad Keys is sitting out there. Chad Keys won an MVP a couple seasons ago. Like you don't want to add Chad Keys to your team right now with your $60 million. He's asking for 12 million. Or like Tyler Hill looks like a decent outfielder. Steve Miller is out there, the first baseman. Like no one has signed Steve Miller. So a former MVP in his own right. I know he's older, but like that cash isn't coming with you next season. You might as well do something with it. And to have these guys just sitting out there doesn't make much sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Looking at this team, I mean, they're average offensively up and down the lineup. I mean, I will say his first baseman is really Dave Grabowski. I mean, you could probably upgrade Roberto Ramirez, his DH. But he definitely, you know, some of his struggles, his third baseman's really bad. Carson Lockwood hitting under 200 right now. I mean, his second baseman's hitting 237, less than 300 on base percentage. Middle infield's definitely hard to find, though. I do like his shortstop a little bit. He's not the best shortstop, but he's also not a liability. He's 26 years old. He is a captain. I think he's probably better at second base than at shortstop. But I don't hate Brian Garland. But yeah, this team's just like the lineup's a bunch of nobodies outside of Grabowski.
But he's somehow
I
like
mean,
middle of the pack in hitting, and second in homers.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, again, Grabowski 20
Yeah, it's a lot of homers. So
ain't bad. Again, that's probably second in the league right now, maybe second in the entire TBL. He's third in. He's leading the Fire Conference by 4 home runs, and he'd be, you know, right there in the running in the Ice Conference. So Grabowski's had a nice season.
that's why he doesn't have
Um,
Chad Keys at first base.
I guess. I mean, again, he could put Chad Keys at DH, and I think Chad Keys is better than nearest here, and for nothing. That's the point.
Gotcha.
But we'll look at his lineup here in a second and see really where the weaknesses are. I mean, his pitching. Just looking at the stat rankings again, runs against 10th, started ERA 13th, so his pitching's pretty bad. Bullpen's kind of average, but the defense is kind of bad. And again, those kind of go hand in hand sometimes. I like the back end of his bullpen. It's been okay. John Dykstra definitely performing better than my closer is.
He's still pitching.
He
That'll
is, dude.
that
37 years old.
former 2005 reliever of the year.
Was he? Wow.
Pitching
Yep.
since 2001.
Yeah, he was an inaugural draft guy, I'm pretty sure. So still in the league.
Lehigh,
Um,
Huron, Louisville, back to Huron, to Spokane, to Galveston, spent some time in Oahu, back to Galveston, and now resides in Vancouver. Good
Yeah, I
old,
wonder if he's got Ron Carter set up on as a follower. The dude's got 4 starts this year, 24 games played, and he's got a really nice ERA, 1.64 ERA in 40 innings. Outside of that, pitching is definitely below average. Dustin Jackson in the setup role is pitching really nice. Again, only 12 innings, so small sample size. But yeah, I would love to see Bob commit more to taking that next step, I guess. Looking at the reports page, just make sure I'm not speaking illy out of turn here, but I'm pretty sure he's got a ton of money sitting out there. Yeah, $63.5 million unspent. And just to give you an idea, the next team closest to him is at $24 million unspent. So he's got an extra $40 million that no other GM is holding on to. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
It's a lot of cash. Can I have some for real? Could use it.
Yeah, right. So yeah, he's pitching a bunch of no names, in my opinion. They don't, they're not the worst pitchers in the league. Like your pitching staff is his. I like his pitching staff better than yours,
Yeah,
or at least the way they're performing.
yeah. Agreed with you.
But yeah, if you have money, why not like test the waters with like someone in free agency or even your AAA system when you got a guy with like a 6.5 ERA or a guy with a 5 ERA, like 5.74 ERA. And then the lineup, again, some defensive liabilities there. The second baseman, he's a rookie this year, but he's not good at second base. He doesn't have an arm. And I know that's not super important at second base, but Bourne's 35 arm, it's not getting the job done. His outfielders are both pretty terrible defensively. Catcher's okay. But yeah. He does have a really nice center fielder. Too bad he's disruptive. And he actually has no power and no eye. But defensively, he's one of the better defensive center fielders in the game. Jared King Scott. But yeah, I don't like this team the way it's currently constructed. He needs to find out which one of these pieces he wants to build around, bring in some big free agents, make a splash, and then take advantage of the fact that the Ruby division is fucking garbage. He could definitely be sitting in third place in this, which he technically is. He's one game back.
Yep.
I've shit on him pretty hard. Do you have any other things to say about Bob's team?
No, I don't. I was gonna say you're making this was supposed to be a quick podcast, making it pretty long.
he was 48-50, until last sim. He did just go on a 7-game losing streak, so he was again chilling right around 500. Yeah.
All right, next team.
Brendan, Phoenix. Above or below your expectations?
I would say around where they should be because I think he's on the up and up right now. His team's been really bad for a few years.
He's been trying to turn the corner.
I think he has been trying to turn the corner. And, I think it's slowly happening. I think he's going to get some pieces. He's finally going to get some money. His fans are going to start seeing that they're winning. So.
Yeah, he's been a dumpster fire for quite a few years. Like you mentioned, he made the playoffs 5 seasons.
Yeah,
but we haven't seen him in the playoffs since 2005 now.
I think he's made the championship series twice as well.
Yeah, early on. Yep.
Early on, he made the first one and lost.
He was one of the original all-in GMs. He'd trade his whole draft classes and every draft pick he owned for a few years just to stay afloat. And then once the floor fell off, it fell off.
Yeah. Yes, he did. He fell through the hole. But yeah.
I would say he's slightly above my expectations right now. I still think his team's pretty bad. Like a lot of no names. I did love how he brought in Fuller.
Yep.
Obviously, the god of walks there. He is paying him $30 million a year for 3 years, and he is 33. So hopefully he holds up. But a quality guy like that, who's a captain, I definitely love a move like that.
Yeah, it's a good call. I don't hate it.
Yeah, he brought in Chris Flowers too, who was playing for Las Vegas before this. Again, he's paying him. Definitely dished out some cash for some older stars here. Flowers is 30. Golder's 33. Justin Piles is 30. I mean, Piles has been on the team for several years. Piles is having a bad season, and he's kind of not been good for several seasons, to be honest.
Yeah, but I would
Um,
say this about that. I mean, he is. I think he's just had a bad stretch because I think he was in third place not too long ago. So it's that just really bad Ruby division at the moment, you know?
yeah, yeah. Where's that little chart? I mean, he's been kind of third, fourth place for a minute, but he's been kind of like fifth, fourth, fifth, fourth. It's been going up and down.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I mean, does he have any young talent? 29, 30, 30, 33, 30, 26, but not good. I actually don't. Billy Lastinger looks like he could. It's a nice defensive. Um, Herrera's 25. Sheeta's 30. So I mean, he's old. His team's still so old. And I mean, his system's better than it was. If you remember, he had like system, like no top 500 prospects. He's now
Yeah.
got 17 top 500 guys, so he's built that up a little bit.
Good. Good.
But if you look at the offensive team stat rankings, right, bottom three in almost every category, outside of steals there, and his pitching is from average to below average in most
Yeah.
statistical
Average.
categories.
Yeah.
And that's with a good defense, right? So his defense has actually been kind of a shining star on this team, but I mean, it's full of 45 overalls and 50 overalls on the pitching staff. So
Yeah. He has another
even
problem too, where he doesn't have a lot of power. No, not a lot of homers.
yeah, that's true. 13th, 70 home runs.
He's lacking power.
Yeah.
If he had
I mean,
some,
even looking up and down his pitching staff, 28, 29, 30, 31. These are all guys like on their careers, not like young rookie talent, and that makes sense because again, he had like a barren system for years.
yep, he's still on the up and up. I don't think he's not looking to take any division championships here anytime soon. I don't think, but we'll see. You know,
Yep.
tough to tell. I think he's on a
I
rock
would,
and a hard spot. But I think he's on the up and up. I think he's done being a bottom dweller.
yeah, looking at the defense, like his second baseman's one of the best defensively in the league. Kimita Yamashita's 10.2 zone rating. His left fielder is kind of a liability. He's also not great with the bat. Um, some mixed results there. I, it's funny. Of the four teams we've looked at here, who are all kind of the same record, right? You, San Antonio, Vancouver, Phoenix, and we'll look at Mexico City too, because they're right there.
Yep.
But I like Phoenix probably second here. I like him better than your team. I like him better than Vancouver. Maybe not as much as San Antonio.
Yep. I agree with that. 100%. I haven't
Was that
looked
a little
at.
quicker? On to the next one.
Yeah, yeah,
Or
yeah. Exactly.
any last
Perfect.
any last thoughts here? Any last thoughts?
No, no. I think that's it. I think that's it
All right.
about Phoenix.
Yeah.
Now let's take a look at him, and I could really judge because maybe Mexico City's better than we thought. You know.
Who knows? Yeah, obviously our first expansion team of the podcast, second season for all these expansion teams. So most of them have a pretty long rebuild ahead of them. How did Mexico City do in their first season? Let's take a look real quick. They were 67 and 95, so not great. Definitely had a expansion-y type season. One thing I noticed with expansion teams, actually, Brian and Winston-Salem pointed this out, but they have a huge tax for being expansion teams. And every year that tax gets cut in half, but like a big part of their budget's not available for the first few years.
Really?
Yeah, I had no idea. Apparently, it's a real thing that happens in baseball,
No
and
shit.
Out of the Park mimics it. So, what do you think of this team? Over or above or below your expectations?
I would say right around where they should be. I mean, they're an expansion team. I'm trying to think of who their best player is. Let's go meet the team.
Yeah, my opinion. I mean, even though they're 9 games under 500, the fact that they're in the playoff race at the trade deadline as an expansion team, they're above expectations.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that. I mean, like his closer, I really do. Former Squatch.
Oh, is he? Yep.
Yeah, hate to see
Not
him
pitching that
go.
great. A 4.63 ERA.
And I hated to see him
Negative
go.
negative R WAR.
Yeah, he's probably declining. He's 30.
He played for Montreal last season too, so he hasn't been with you for.
Couple seasons, but I liked him. He won a championship with me.
Yep. And honestly, looking at his bullpen, 12th out of 16th in the team rankings, so his bullpen's definitely not great. A lot of high ERAs.
Yeah, he's got a
If you
good
look through that,
starting rotation.
he does. His rotation's been pretty good. 5th in the Fire Conference right now. Jose Pera, this guy looks really nice. He's 33. This must have been one of those international. Yep, he's from Cuba, so he was an international, like transfer into the league. And the dude's put up 2 solid seasons. Like if this guy was on the market, the trade deadline, I might reach out to Mexico City here after the podcast because I'd make a move on this guy.
Yeah.
So, he's got an ace. Jose Yanez also looks pretty good. This guy was an expansion draft pick. He stole him from Nashville. I think Nashville made an error not protecting this dude. He actually didn't pitch well at all last year for Mexico City, but this year he's pitched really well. He's only 26 years old. Has a 24-year-old get lost?
Happens.
Yeah, I guess so. It's top 3. Even Aaron, a left-handed 27-year-old. So in terms of expansion teams, his 1 through 3 are pretty good. His 4 and 5 are pretty bad, and then his bullpen is pretty bad.
Yeah. In terms of Mexico City, yeah, I'd agree. I think they're overperforming, and there's a chance that he could make the playoffs.
I don't disagree. I mean, look at his lineup. It's not terrible.
Yeah,
Ron
it's not.
Blackwell,
Yeah, it isn't. It's not terrible at all. He's got two
another
guys hitting
expansion draft
20.
pick.
He's got 2 guys hitting over 20 homers. So he's got the power.
Yep. Sam Bailey looks decent. I mean, this guy, where did he come from? Expansion draft pick from Denver. The other guy was expansion draft pick from Fort Collins. So good strategy in the expansion draft. Take players from the best teams, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you had to at
But yeah,
least one.
20 homers. Yeah, yeah. Take them early. I mean,
But
outside of that, the lineup's definitely lacking big time. But
yeah,
looking through there,
I mean, he does have 11 million in cash to spend, so you know.
looking on the defensive side of things, his shortstop is a defensive liability. Again, a short 50 range just fucking sucks. Like that's not enough range to play shortstop. This guy would probably be one of the top second basemen in the league. Fortunately, he's just not playing that position because he has a second baseman. I actually think his second baseman, Brian Kelly, would be better at shortstop than the guy he has at shortstop. I think they should switch positions. Just look at their ratings real quick. If you look at go to the lineups, yeah, this works. So Tony Beren, 50 range, good error. And then Brian Kelly, he's got a 60 range. So I would shift him over to shortstop and give him an opportunity to try to play there. And maybe that improves the defense a little bit. But he also has some liabilities like Kane Chisholm in right field has been really bad. And it looks like he's not starting. It's a good thing. He started 64 games. I would straight up drop this guy. He's got 35 contacts. Just fucking bad. Of course, I guess if you're an expansion team, you may not have a lot of options behind. And then on the flip side of things, he's got one of the best defensive center fielders in the game, Dylan Aspin, who I don't hate at all. He's got 2.3 WAR. He's on pace for 3.5 WAR. Great range, great arm. This guy's a good center fielder. Good personality.
Yep.
25 years old. Expansion pick from Boston. Look at Jose Perez got 5.5 R WAR already. I know we already looked at him, but damn, dude, he's on pace for 8.5 R WAR. This dude could be potential Cy Young candidate. Excuse me, pitcher of the year. No one knows who Cy Young is in the TBL. Do you have any last thoughts on the expansion Chupacabras here in Kyle's
I
team?
think he put together a good team and he utilized the expansion draft last year. How dreadful it was for us.
Yeah.
But he did a good job, and yeah, he has a chance of making the playoffs. Mexico City, you know,
Yeah. Yeah,
he's got
I
a
agree.
chance.
I
If he could make some, he's got 11 million to spend, so he can make some pushes. So if
I'm putting him above Phoenix in my rankings of this clusterfuck of 5 teams that all have the same record. I got like San Antonio, then Mexico City, then Phoenix,
oh yeah, I
then the
agree.
Sasquatches, and the Vandals. I think that's my order.
Yeah, I think Sasquatches are definitely down on the. Yeah, I'm overperforming.
Again, it's your defense. Just
Yeah,
with your defense, your
yeah.
your pitching's not going to get any better. So, one more team here, Alex and the San Diego Seals, and he took a big fucking hit this offseason when he lost. What was the pitcher's name?
Ezra James.
Ezra James. Yeah, for some reason, Ezra James got early. Really don't like to see the fact that he doesn't have a full lineup set. Probably gonna have to DM
I
my
think
brother here
he
and ask him
has
what's going on.
he has it set up. We just haven't pulled exports.
I mean, this is from last sim. So
Yeah,
going into last sim, he didn't have a full lineup. So I will have to ask questions. He's got a 6-man rotation too, and he's got one of the slots empty, which is weird. And he's got 2 pitchers that are not assigned to a role. So maybe a little neglect happening in San Diego, which not appreciated. Gonna have to give him some shit there.
oh.
You'll look at his number 2 pitcher, who's highlighted. He is now a paddler. Bringing him over to try to boost my roster a little bit. Nothing special, but nothing to
Craig
sneeze at either.
Craig Robinette taking Dev Dies as well isn't good for him either.
Yeah. Craig Robinette, his ace is on the way down. This is a see, 5, 6, 7, 9-time All-Star, 2-time Pitcher of the Year, 33 years old, and maybe headed towards the scrap yard soon.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, but it hasn't been
Yeah,
no secret for San Diego. He's been selling. He's
yeah, above or below expectations, I'd say
he's at his
right where
expectation.
I
He's
expect.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't
He's-
know if he was the worst team in the division, but I didn't expect him to be competitive. So right where I expected.
I expect where I expect him. I know he's trying to rebuild. So
Yep, and he's done good. He's taken some assets from me. I don't know if he. I know he's other side as well. Um, so yeah, he's taking on shitty contracts in an effort to bring in assets. So it's a smart play. I think there's 2 ways to bring in assets, right? Dump when you suck. Bring on shitty contracts. Hint, hint, Vancouver. You should totally reach out to some people and sign guys to 1-year deals and then flip them at the deadline. Those are the 2 best ways to kind of turn things around in this league, in my opinion.
yeah, agreed.
But he's got look at Danny Marshburn, 22 home runs, only hitting 210 though. This guy's nothing special. I can't believe he has 22 homers. He's got 70 power, 35 contact, 40 gap. This guy basically only hits home runs. 22 home runs and 82 hits.
I hit Homer.
Rengifo's been good for him year after year, and I think he's starting to decline a little. He's only 28, but he has taken a couple dev hits. But again, I think Rengifo has some value to anybody looking for a corner outfielder. Cartini, the guys that are in his lineup aren't terrible. Cartini's okay. But you have to remember, a lot of these guys are remnants of the team.
Mm-hmm.
He won 1 championship, and I think he lost in the championship too, right? He lost to
Yes.
New York in 2010. So we're
Yes.
talking 3 years ago, this team was in the championship. One of his best players, his catcher, Glenn Marks,
Injured.
now out for 7 months. So his season is done. And looking at the stat rankings, dead last bullpen, dead last in FIP, dead last in pitcher war. Bottom 3, 4 in most defensive categories. 14th in runs against.
Yeah, but I think
So he's took that, and his offense is in the same category, bottom 4, bottom 3, except for home runs. The dude mashes the ball, or the team mashes the ball, but the only right spot.
Yep.
What were you saying?
I was gonna say, I think he's at where he wants to be. I think he wants to tank. He's tanking. I mean, look at that then. Look at that bar going woo right down. So
Yeah, I mean he's definitely in rebuild mode. It's going to be a long
yeah, it's gonna be a
10
long.
top 500 prospects.
It's gonna be a long time for him coming. So, but he shall see.
Yep, we'll see him in Out of the Park 26.
We'll be talking about San Diego
Yeah,
then.
I mean the problem with him, again, he's my brother, so I kind of push it out to him. But if you look at his meet the team screen, real quick, look at his minor league teams. Oh, you don't have it on here. Your screen doesn't show it. But basically, he's oh, right there, perfect. Yeah, eighth, 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 sixth, fourth. So like his fucking minor leagues are so bad. If he doesn't improve that, his guys aren't developed.
But
I think
he's been running the league or the division for the last 4 years. I mean,
his double A team's 15 and 78, bro.
not really, but I mean, he definitely he's another person that risked his future
In the
for
future.
championships.
Yeah, yeah, he followed the Phoenix model for sure to the dumpster.
So he's either
Yep.
this the demise was coming eventually. So
Honestly, yeah. I mean, I see Phoenix and I see San Diego doing moves like that, and I hate it in the moment, but then I smile in because I know in the future I'm going to be towards the top of the division while they're sucking wind
yeah,
for a while. So, so as a commissioner, I hate to see it. I hate to see it. As a division rival, I fucking love it. I think that's enough on the field, don't you?
yeah, I agree. I think
I'm glad we looked at this though, so I can give him a dirty DM for not having a full roster.
wagging the finger.
Yeah, you want to take a quick break or move right on to the towpath?
Let's take a quick break.
All right, we'll be back in a couple minutes. All right, here we go. Let's switch over to the Topaz and finish up the Fire Conference. Milwaukee sitting on top right now, and that's not unusual. Milwaukee's been so good. Bob's team repeatedly a competitor here since he's joined the league. Let's take a look at kind of his history real quick. Made the playoffs 5 of the last 6 seasons, and back-to-back 100-win seasons. He actually won 162 each of the last 2 seasons. So on pace this year for a slightly better record, over 100 wins as well. What are your thoughts, Chris, on the Mobsters?
I think it was their year. They might have lost some pieces, but I think they are where they're at for what I think I didn't think they were going anywhere. That's the word I was looking for. So yeah,
Yeah, how far did they go last year? Lost in the wild card, so they kind of got upset early. So again, this is just kind of like Bighorn. It's like we've been here over and over again. Now it's just about trying to get to that next step. Obviously, 2 years ago they lost in the big league championship to Denver. So I think they're just trying to get in and then have a successful playoff run.
yeah, agreed, agreed.
So above or below your expectations? I'd say above a little bit, just
Yeah, I'd
because
say
again,
above,
very tough division.
above, but I wouldn't say yeah, because I would say winning it or bust for them. Really, that's
Yeah, and
my
for me, it's like they lost Tony Aponte, so you don't know like, it's not going
yeah,
to be having a big impact on the team, but he's made the right moves and he still has like a killer lineup.
yeah. So top 5 offense for sure.
Well, I mean, yeah, top 5 offense and top 2 pitching staff.
Yeah, except
Like their
for
pitching is
homers, only
so fucking
43
good.
home runs. That's it.
Yeah,
They
it's all about the speed on this team.
small ball city on this team. Wow.
I'd like to know who second in stolen bases is. They're first. Who's that team we looked at that was really fun? Who picked up? Was it Bighorn that picked up? Yeah, Bighorn second with 158. So maybe speed's the way to go now. Maybe that's the model for having a great team in out of the park 25. 195 to 158, about a 35, 37 stolen base difference between these two teams. But Jim Harris at the top of the lineup on pace for 91 steals. Bo Moses, super quick. He's on pace for 56 steals. And he brought in Greg Gross first season. Not having a great season there in the 3 spot, but went from Atlanta, a career Atlanta guy, played 1 season for Mexico City, and now he's on the Mobsters. But a lot of these guys are, repeat players from last season. Another guy brought in Robbie Croy here, who's also not having a great season. The guys he brought in free agency actually aren't performing that well.
But it's not making that big of an impact. So,
No, for sure.
and his pitching staff is
Yeah,
ungodly. Like, oh my god,
yep.
one
I
through
mean,
five is just like
1 through 5 is good. Yeah,
just incredible.
yep. And even his bullpen is. I mean, look at Josh Broyles, dude. Best closer in the game.
Yeah, right now, absolutely.
He's an 80-80. He's
Yeah,
crazy. I actually don't know why he's so good. I mean, I guess I do. But he's got that shitty
he's
changeup.
got really good control and stuff. It's a good fastball
Yeah,
and splitter. He doesn't need that changeup.
he's a captain as well on the back
Yeah,
end.
that's why he the man.
Yep. Second runs against, second in starters ERA, second in bullpen. Yeah, he's just really, really good pitching. Really, really fast on the base paths. So top batting average in the Fire Conference. Yeah, he's got a really good team.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I think he's got this on lock. I mean, he's got a 6-game lead on the 1 spot. So, or no, 3-game lead on the 1 spot technically. But whoever wins this
Yeah,
division. So
yeah. I don't think he has the division locked up because we do have a lot of good teams in the division. I mean, Virginia won it, right? Like Virginia was
yeah,
better than Milwaukee. Um, so they're lingering. Oklahoma City did this last year too. They were a top team and then they faded down the stretch. So let's see if they, stay in that competitive race as we get back into divisional play, in the final stretch of the season. But Louisville is kind of the outlier here. Also in the race last year, and now they're still in the wild card race, but they've taken a step back. So, yeah, looking at the pitching real quick. Again, their team's so fucking good. They're top five, or their five starting pitchers are maybe all in the 10 conference in terms of starting pitchers, which is pretty nuts. And they're really only defensive liability that either right field 10 zone rating. Really can't play the outfield. So if Milwaukee was looking to do any upgrade, I think it's maybe just a corner outfielder. But outside of that, they're pretty solid. Nobody with a negative WAR. So like their whole team has been decent. Next team. All right, Chris is ready to move. Yeah, let's take a look at Oklahoma City and Travis. Above or below your expectations?
I would say above because they're tied with Virginia. But they were in the playoffs last year, and I believe they made the Fire Conference Championship Series. So,
Did they go that far?
yeah,
I
they
have a bad
lost to
memory.
Bighorn.
Okay, yeah. So this is the trial or the basically the what I was saying, where if you get in the Fire Conference, far, because I feel like they were third place in the division last year. They were a wild card team, right? I don't think they were top two. So yeah, again, they were like competing all season long. They were fourth last year in the division.
Yep, they were a
They were
wild
behind
card
Louisville.
team.
Yep. So obviously this team has a rich history in terms of what they've done. Travis hasn't been in charge for that entire history, but they've made the playoffs 9 times now, and if they make it again this year, 10 times in 13 seasons. So as sure thing as a team in the league. Obviously used to be the Kingston Frontenacs before moving. But yeah, let's take a look at his team and why are they so good? Looks like it's the pitching.
Yeah, I'd agree. The pitching, and it's a mediocre offense.
I would say, his 1 through 5 actually competes with. They have a better starters ERA than Milwaukee. So
they got a really good offense, and their defense is really good.
Yeah, Murata, the $50 billion man, is pitching like he's worth $50 million. He's not, but he's pitching like it. Ning has been really good here. Second season with this team after coming over from New Orleans. And honestly, he didn't pitch like this in New Orleans. I bet that's kind of a sore spot. He did for a few years, but he was declining, and then he just all of a sudden.
He's got a really good defense behind him. So.
Yeah, good point. First in defensive efficiency, first in zone rating, second in errors. So definitely helping all these guys be even better than they. 21 starts for Jae-Ju Kim, second overall pick in 2008. Dude's got a 1.82 ERA. So maybe this guy is the front runner for the Cy Young. 13-2 right
Pitcher of
now.
the year. There's no
Pitcher of the year. Thank you.
yeah.
Yep, he's a lefty. Yeah, his 4 and 5 are strong. His bullpen's all. Not the top bullpen in the game, but that's a deep bullpen. There's a lot of good pitchers on that staff.
Mm-hmm. He's in good position. If he picks up players, he can. If he's got the capital and picks up players, he can be, make himself better.
The same kind of offensive footprint as the other two competitors that we've conference too, right? Milwaukee, super fast. Bighorn, super fast, and this team is third in steals.
Yep.
Joe Smith at the top of the lineup is on pace for 42 steals, and he's a super quick guy.
Yeah, 27,
Um,
23, and 20 are his top three. So
and this is another
that's
team with
70 steals right there with his top three
this is
guys.
another team, yeah, another team loaded with left-handers.
Yeah, only
Most of his lineup is lefties.
basically only one right-handed hitter.
Yeah, yeah, two switch hitters and a righty. And his righty's a catcher with 80 blocking and
Yeah, so
not the best arm. You can run on him, but he does everything else right to make his pitching staff look like all stars. So, yeah, no, I think Oklahoma City has a really good squad here. Like them just as much as Milwaukee, probably.
yeah, I think it's a really good team. I think he's gonna make the playoffs for sure. I mean, he's a lock.
Yeah, well, he'll
Judging
get
by the,
fielding. Just wondering. Go ahead.
as I think he's a lock. He's got a really good team. It's assembled really well. So I think,
Yeah,
I think he's a lock to make the playoffs.
I agree. We talked about his fielding being the best in the Fire Conference too, and he's got no liabilities in the field. He's actually got a couple, studs. Joe Smith, like 14 zone rating, and having another tremendous on pace for 7 WAR after putting up back-to-back. Joe Smith has been so good for so long. Actually, going back to 2006, Joe Smith, his worst season was 3.4 WAR. He's been averaging like 4.6 to like 5.5 WAR a season though. Like that's impressive. Antonio Soriano, I'm actually not familiar with that name. This guy's a rookie. He's shortstop, and he's on pace for almost 5 WAR, and he's just a top defensive shortstop. And that's so hard to find. He's 23 years old. So I think that's the difference between his collapse last year and him staying at the top this year is he's got that middle infielder just like locked up.
All right, what's your thoughts on this team?
Agreed. Playoff team.
Okay.
Maybe a division winner. We'll see.
All right, next team.
Virginia and Andrew's team. This is the team I poo-pooed on last year because I thought they were
Yeah, we both poo-pooed
way
on them.
overrated. Way overrated in the preseason predictions, and then they matched their preseason prediction by winning 105 games.
They did 3 years making the playoffs in a row.
Yeah, since Andrews joined the league, he's super reliable GM. 3 years in a row. He did have a gap there, I guess, technically, but he never had a really bad team. He was hovering around 500, and he was in the team with like in the division with like Huron, which was like fucking an all-star team, and Milwaukee and Louisville. They were all so good for a while. So yeah, no, I like his team a lot. Again, team stat rankings, it's the offense here that really is just unparalleled right now in the Fire
Offense
Conference.
and top 5 and both starters and bullpen. So
yeah, he brought in Kareem Famous Amos, right? Who's having another stellar season on pace for 4.5 WAR here.
Another old
Alex
guy.
Alonso at the top of the. Alex Alonso's been really good too. I guess I'm not as familiar with Alonso, but he's been on Virginia
for a while
since
now.
2005. He's basically a lifer. Probably a name I should know better. Yeah, Danny Herron. He brought in Danny Herron, so he's got a couple of big bats that are brand new to this team.
Yeah, his pitching
Mark
is
Green.
his pitching's good outside of his 5 spot, in my opinion. But his 5 spot's a lefty, so I like it.
Look at Mark Green's bars real quick. The guy with 22 homers and 100. He's got the power and the eye, which is kind of a really nice combo in my opinion. 100 RBIs, dude. No one else in the TBL has 80 RBIs right now. That's pretty remarkable. He's on pace for what? Let's see here. On pace for 154. I wonder if that's TBL. Take a quick look. Single game records. Nope, single career record. RBIs in a season right now, the record is 163 by Joaquin Verdugo. So he's on pace for maybe like a third place overall. 3 guys have ever done 150 in a season. So, pitching staff also pretty good. I mean, this team's slower than the other two. That's the one differentiator. He mashes the home runs. Actually, he's 8th in home runs. I take that back. He He's just a great on base, run score type of team. But the pitching staff is top 5 in most categories except for strikeout, and that's with a average defense. I don't like his 1 through 5 as much as I like the other 2 teams in the division. Do you?
Yeah, I like his 1 through 4. I like 5 because he's a lefty. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I like his bullpen more than I like, which we didn't talk about much, but not as much as Milwaukee's. So all 3 of these teams kind of have their strengths and their weaknesses, but they're all definitely, I can see why they're all.
Yeah, they're all top tier teams, and it's kind of cool that they're all in the same division, and
Yeah.
also kind of shitty if you're in that division. Don't you wish you're in the Ruby now?
And I'll say, I think they're again above my expectations. They did bring in some nice pieces, but this is still a team where I'm just like, damn, how are they as good as they are? And I continue to show that I don't know shit about this game.
Yep. Yeah, I think he's another playoff lock with just the amount of wins he has, and he has more
Yeah.
than the other team. So, or more than Bighorn.
Oh,
So, yeah.
without a question. Look at the wild card. They're 15 games up.
Yeah.
Like
So,
whoever doesn't get second place here is 15 games up. There's no way any of these teams miss the playoffs.
yeah, there's no way. So,
The question is, do any of these teams make a move to strengthen themselves to make a playoff run?
yeah, that is the question.
Because this is the trade deadline podcast.
And the commish wants answers.
I want answers. Where's all the trades? Next up, Louisville. Chuck.
Another team that's just made a lot of appearances.
He's been solid.
7 playoff appearances, 1 big league championship.
7 in the last 8 seasons too. Like he missed the playoffs the first 4 years. I don't remember when Chuck took over. I feel like he wasn't the original GM.
He wasn't the original. We know that.
I think he took over that first year, so I think he's only missed the playoffs once since he's been a GM in the league.
Yeah.
I think he won. Maybe he took over the second year. I think he won a championship his first year. So he took over, I think, in 2006, the second time that this team made the playoffs.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's been super solid. This is his first, if we can call it a down year. Down year is 50 and 55.
Well, I think he said before in chat, he's on a down. He's on the downside at the moment. So.
When he was talking about the Korean Kong get off to a super start, I don't know if he's recovered from that a little bit or not. He's still hitting 240.
Yeah.
Maybe not. He's definitely having a down year, Korean Kong. This is a guy that he's still on pace for 4.3 WAR, but he's been putting up 8 WAR, 7 WAR, 6.6, 6.4. This dude hasn't had lower than 5 WAR. 5 WAR is rookie season. He hasn't had lower than 6.2 WAR in any other season. So I guess eventually you have to take a step back from those numbers, right? I said I guess eventually you have to stop putting up 6.2 WAR every single.
Yeah, eventually you're gonna stop.
Yep.
Father Time will get you eventually, and at the pace of our league, its players do go down. I mean, he was an 80 over 80. He's a 65 over 65 now. I'll still take him.
Yeah. I mean, he's still got such a good young core, though. Like Pete Robinson in the leadoff spot, not super quick, but this guy's on pace for 6 WAR, and he's 26 years old. Chris Fruska is number 3 hitter, is on pace for 4 WAR, and he's 26 years old. Loudermilk is number 4 hitter, is 26 years old. So he's still got a really young lineup. For some reason, look at his stat rankings. Like his offense has not been good this year.
Yeah.
And maybe it's the second half of that lineup. Like Jim Bennett's been terrible.
Yep.
Minus 1.2 WAR, fielding stats. He's been above average shortstop, but again, if 34-year-old and he can't hit, he's hitting 155.
I just
208
think
on base percentage. That's just not viable.
I just think Milwaukee, Oklahoma, and Virginia are just that much of ahead of Virginia at the moment that he's
Oh, Louisville? Yeah.
yeah, Virginia's or Louisville's seen their time because those three are just have overcome because Louisville was running the show for a couple of years, I will say, but like you said, Huron was the main in the past was the big dog of of the Topaz per
Yeah.
se, but Louisville
Until
was
they morphed with Denver.
yeah, Tilly Moore. Oh
Um,
boy.
but yeah, I think one of the big problems here for the Louisville lineup, right, is we talk about the critical nature of the catcher position and the shortstop position and the center fielder position. And the center fielder is below average. And I mean, he's got some home runs, but he's below average defender. His shortstop is like maybe the worst in the league looking at those numbers. And his his second baseman's not great. And then his catcher is average at best, right?
Yeah.
Um, so it's just, I mean, those kind of things will hold you back, even if you do have studs in these other positions. What do you think of his pitching?
I think he's got a middle of the road pitch. I think he's got good pitching. But I think yeah, it's tough. Like I said, he's got good pitching, and I don't know.
I think his pitching's okay. He's got a good bullpen, obviously, third in
Yeah,
bullpen ERA this year. Definitely above average pitching, but like, what, fourth out of four teams that we've looked at so far in this
yeah,
division?
yeah. It's definitely not the best in the division. So,
No. I mean, there's
um,
there's some holes here. Walt
that's what
Tavera at
I
the
was trying to
bottom.
say earlier.
Yep.
So, um, I mean,
I
he's a playoff team at the moment. Because if my team's a playoff team, he's definitely a playoff team. So,
It's funny. I criticize his defense, but he's got the third. He's second in defensive efficiency, second in zone rating, and fifth in errors. His center fielder has been pretty bad defensively. There's actually no other defensive holes on this team. Everybody else has been pretty good defensively. Um, I just think when I criticize his catcher, like good defense, but not great offense, like he's average. And the shortstop again, great to have an okay defensive shortstop, but like not when he's hitting 155 with a 208 on base percentage.
it's
So
tough. It's tough pickings for shortstop. So, you know,
yeah.
is what it is.
Um, that being said, I'll take this team all day over any of the teams in the wild card race.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah, like no contest.
Yep, no contest.
Let's see
On
if
the
they.
Ruby, are you saying on the Ruby side of the situation?
Yeah, I mean, again, the wild card teams are right between
Yeah,
maybe St. Louis right
yeah.
now in the running.
And I mean, and rightfully so, he is, in that third spot up there in the or in the second spot technically in the wild card berth. So
Yep. Yeah, I mean, he's got a 2 game cushion right now, so not a super safe lead, but like I think again, we talk about above or below expectations. I think this team's been below expectations, and I think you know they have a chance to finish strong. The only thing is, when we get to the final stretch, you're playing all divisional games, so they have to go through the mobsters and the outlaws and the rebels, and maybe someone in the Ruby division takes advantage of a weak schedule and bumps them.
yeah,
That's the only thing that I could see happening, maybe.
yeah.
Or maybe one of these teams right below them, Huron, uh, comes and takes them. Because I heard Josh say that he plans to try to compete here down the stretch. So, all right, next team. Speaking of Josh,
Huron.
Huron, the Herons. And so, what do you think? Above or below your expectations here for
Um,
47 and 58?
well, I think he was kind of tanking, and he's up, so I think say he's above average, and if he's competing, I'd say he's above average. Um, I mean, it's not hard to fight for that last. I can see fighting for that chance for that, that playoff berth. Uh,
Right.
so if
Yeah, I think they're right where I expect them to be. Like, what,
yeah,
11 games under 500? It's just more about
so
how
what I
bad
would
it can
say
get.
is he's overperforming, and and it's good. So he's got players. He's got Malik Roach on his team now. It looks like so.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they're overperforming. I think they're right where I would have.
Yeah.
Malik Roach isn't the Roach you're thinking of either. Malik
No.
Roach is okay, but he's no Ryan Roach.
Oh yeah.
I
Yep.
can't believe Malik Roach has an MVP. That's actually me backtracking. Malik Roach is
I'm gonna say I thought he was an MVP or
yeah,
something. So
2010 MVP. I don't think he should have won that.
but he did. Deal
But he
with it.
did. So what can I say? He's got a lot of injuries. I'm looking at his team injuries
Yeah.
list, more than most people. I mean, no superstars here, but that's not true. Miguel Perez is a superstar, out for 3 months.
That's the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, he's a 70 of 80. He's a 22-year-old.
No way, Matt
He's
Mace is hurt
70
too.
overall, 80 potential. Yeah, Matt Mays, shocking. Yeah. No, Perez looks really good. Look at that guy. If do you have the injury list there? Yeah, yeah. This guy's going to be a future stud. Trade with Denver. One of the assets from the dark years. So if that guy happens to not be an injury dude, then maybe a future ace for the Herons. His nickname is Smiles. I love that. What do you think of this team's hitting or pitching? Where do you want to start?
I'd say the hitting's middle of the pack, but don't hate it. I think I like his team more than mine, and of course, I like his pitching more than mine. It's not the best, but I get it right now. Pitching's hard to come by, and if you don't have the money or the pitching depth, there's not much you can do. So
Yeah, look at his number 2 hitter, Chris Kohlers. Not a superstar, but a pretty cool success story. This guy was an 11th round pick back in 2009, and he's turned into a future TBL regular, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty cool when you get a guy that isn't expected to be anything, and he turns into something like that.
Yeah, I love it when you see it.
Obviously, you mentioned Roach, but the rest of these guys are journeymen, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think he's got a shot at making the playoffs. He's 47-58. He's one game shy of uh, a wild card bout, or one or two games. Two games shy.
I will say one other guy from his lineup too is number 9 hitter Jesse Harno. This guy can figure out the bat a little bit. He's 71, which isn't viable.
Yeah.
But he's a future Gold Glover. Like the dude's got 80 range. He's got really good zone ratings so far this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, if that contact devs up a little bit, maybe put him in the dev line and get him up to his potential. I could see this guy being a positive contribution to the team.
Yeah. Other than that, his pitching is mainly hot trash. Other than like a couple shining pieces like Mike Bennett performing
agreed.
well.
His closer's
Cardenas.
nice.
Closer's nice as well. He's pitching well. Only 5
He's a rookie.
saves. Must
He's a
be
rookie. Yeah.
must be just barely put into that role or something. He's only got
I
7
think
games
he
in there.
mentioned. I think he was a like a call up day guy. He's got
Yep.
7 innings pitched, 7 innings.
Yep, because he was in looks like Double A. Is that what TBB is? Batter's box. I forget what the batter. I don't forget what our Triple A.
On deck circles, Double A, Triple A. He was in Triple A.
Okay.
He was in both this year. He looks like he got promoted from double to triple to the major leagues. So
yeah.
Future back end. I think he has some okay pieces in his actually. I don't hate his bullpen, but his starting pitching isn't. And especially again, we're just looking at this division. This division's super strong with starters.
Monster division. So.
Yep. Looking at pitching, nobody that's like a super red flag in terms of being terrible. His defense definitely is a liability in some areas. He's got no one that's like a superstar defensively. But like his center fielder right now, Juan Sandoval, is like not even good enough to play left field, and he's got him in center. He's unmotivated, so even when they hit a fly ball to him, he doesn't really run for it, because he's a douchebag. Ian Davis, another guy, 55 range. You can't do that at shortstop. So he's a liability every time the ball is hit. Carl Gore, his second baseman, has bad zone rating, and I think that plays off. Like if you have a bad short, the second baseman's going to struggle. If you have a bad second baseman, the shortstop's going to struggle. Right? They're like a team. So his middle infield is garbage. His center field is garbage. Any ball hit in the middle of the field probably fall into play. Next team. I wasn't rambling. I was making a good point. St. Louis, George. I don't see him making a trade deadline move.
Nope, I don't either.
I'm gonna bet some money on that on FanDuel. George is not gonna make a trade.
He's
Above or
standing
below your
pat.
expectations?
Below.
Below? You think this team should be better than this?
I don't know.
They
I
have
don't.
won 70 and 64 games the last two seasons.
I have a hard time with this team because I mean he kind. I think he's a lot like my team too, where like have stood pat for the past like a long time, but I think I'm in the time to break it up, and I think it's hard to break it up, but maybe you should.
Yeah, he's got an
Um,
outside shot at the playoff team with the playoffs, but I think he's just in a lot of trouble because he's got a not great team, and he hasn't had a not great team for a couple seasons, but he also has a not great system. So it's like, where's the future coming from if you're not trading for some assets here? He's got 9 top 500 players, and that's not great.
yeah,
Minor league system rankings has him ranked 10th actually, just because the guys he does have that are like he's got the number 6 prospect James Dominy,
yeah,
and he was the 1-1 overall in this year's draft. So maybe that's a nice future piece, but just like if they're coming one at a time and you're never getting like chunk of talent, like yeah, tough.
it's tough. It looks like the inaugural 1-1 is finally fallen off a cliff.
Hey, he's still 60 overall. That's pretty impressive for a 36-year-old.
Yeah,
But you're right, he's not what he was.
not what he was. So
Definitely a future Hall of Famer. 71 career WAR for Danzig.
yeah,
10-time All Star. I think like 10-time Platinum Stick winner. Just a pure talented player. And the crazy thing is, again, I don't really know if I agree with this. He's making 34 million this year, and he's got him extended for 2 more years to his age 38 season, 28 million and 25 million.
he's got to pay Frank.
Um, I guess.
He's just here to play this game to play Frank Dancing. So
Yeah, honestly, I guess he wants him to retire. I understand him wanting to retire him as a St. Louis Doom,
yeah, I do
and
too.
I get that. I definitely, in my other league, I definitely extended a few guys beyond their window because of that. So, what do you think of this team today, though? Looking at the offense,
I just think it's a terrible team. Just in general, I think it's just below average in all assets and offense and in pitching and defense for that matter. So
yeah, I mean, just not a great team. Carlos Castro, former 1-1, definitely didn't live up to expectations. He's a 55 overall, so he's a serviceable player. But when you have a 1-1, you hope he turns into a superstar. And I remember him in the draft. I thought he was like a sure thing, looked really, really good, and then just didn't make it to the level that he was expected to be. He does have a nice number 3 hitter there. He's only 23 years old. This is his first full season, so this guy's a rookie of the year candidate, I think, if you want to look at Bill Willis real quick. It's on pace for almost 6 WAR. This
oh,
guy was a former 16th overall pick in 2008, so he's devved up nicely. He's got a good personality. Again, it's about keeping the band together and getting enough of these guys up. His
yeah,
short's not
picking up
good.
some talent
Really, really
for
bad.
him.
His shortstop's at 30 overall. He's selfish. He's got -2 WAR on the season. He's just not a good player.
Yeah, I
Um,
just
his
think
catcher, his catcher is terrible defensively or defensive ratings, and that hurts his pitching staff.
I think he's doesn't have a good team this year. I think his just below average for the Topaz. You know, it's a monster division, so I can see why his team would be hard. Maybe if he was in the Ruby division, he'd be a playoff team.
Do you give him a playoff shot this year? He's 4 games back right now. Any chance this team
Uh,
makes it?
no, I don't see his team. I don't like his team more than I like. Say I like Mexico City more than I like St. Louis at the moment.
I agree. I don't like his team that much. And again, we talked about the end of the season's division games. He's got to play the Rebels, the Outlaws, the Mobsters. Like, good luck.
Yeah, and the Rivermen for that matter. So
And the Rivermen, who aren't terrible. Yep.
So uh,
Who's next?
it's Nashville.
Nashville and Cody. And this is definitely the most neglected team. Part of it is, again, Cody has just like a super busy job if he travels. Sometimes he has trouble downloading the file, and I don't know what that's about. But he says he's in a couple leagues, and this is the only league it happens to feel for him. But he's missed a lot of exports. I have to export for him a lot of the times. A lot of times it's just on AI or on auto. So definitely probably not going to be competitive anytime soon, just given those facts. He's had a couple windows where he's made the playoffs, but for the most part, this is one of the most unsuccessful franchises in the TBL, and he's been here since the inaugural draft. So, not sure I see it turning around anytime soon. He's made the playoffs twice in the 13 seasons or 12 seasons.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah. I mean, who do you like on this team? Anybody? His offense isn't
Ben
terrible in
Fowler.
terms of
I
his
like
stat
Ben
ranking.
Fowler. That's who I like.
Yeah. You're a homer. I remember his brief stay in Oahu, and I couldn't get rid of him fast enough.
He's going to play in at shortstop, and he should be playing a first base.
I signed him off of an 8-war season with you, and he fucking sucked ass. He's never been the same since.
Well, yeah, you paid him $40 million.
Dude, he had 8-war.
Yeah, I know.
He hit 334. He led the league in
I
average
liked,
and on base percentage.
I loved Ben Fowler. I really did, but I didn't love Ben Fowler for that much money.
Yeah, that was fair. I overpaid him just to take him from you. Maybe a mistake on my part. Maybe I got a little too emotional.
Got too emotional on that one.
Yep. But his offense, he leads the league in home runs.
Yeah. He doesn't
He's
have a bad offense. It really
he's
doesn't.
top 5 in a lot of categories. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think his lacking territory is his pitching staff.
I
Just
actually don't know who. Yeah, go ahead.
just total lack of pitching staff. Yeah, like you said, if it's really neglected team, if he maybe had a pitching staff, he could compete.
Yeah, no, agreed. I mean, I don't know the names of a lot of these players, but again, they're like Chance Strong has 21 homers. He's 65 overall, and he's been on this team for 3 seasons now. So that's not a terrible piece. He's unmotivated. I don't know Roland Bale very well, but he came over, and obviously Virginia was a really good team. Played for St. Louis before that. St. Louis actually does get rid of players sometimes. So this is a guy that walked from St. Louis. Scott Skinner, I feel like he was a paddler for a long time. 3 seasons with the Paddlers, came up through my system, and he's kind of been a journeyman ever since. So yeah, his lineup's okay, but there's definitely some weaknesses in it, and yeah, the rotation is well.
Yeah, I don't think he doesn't have a good pitching staff, and I don't think his defense is that good as well. His defense is really
Yeah,
bad. So,
his defense is actually the worst in the league, and
so
that's why the pitching's as bad as it is.
yeah.
16th starter ERA, 15th bullpen, 16th efficiency, 16th zone rating. This is out of 16 teams.
So
Yeah.
if this team was a little taken care of, I think it could do a little better than it could. But at the moment,
Yeah,
at the moment,
definitely throw Cuddy under the bus a little bit for that, right?
yeah,
Look
yeah,
at the lineups in the fielding stats page. Like he just has guys that shouldn't be playing the position that they're playing,
yep,
basically.
yep.
Um,
But
we've got -5 zone rating for his center fielder, -7 zone rating for his left fielder, -9 zone rating for his right fielder. Anything in the outfield, there's a good option for base hit, basically. His
yeah,
shortstop, Ben Fowler, -9.4 zone rating. His
ex-
second baseman, -12 zone rating. Like that's 5 starters where they're just below average in the field. So anything that gets hit in play, it just increases the chance that it's going to be a hit. I don't think we need to talk much more about
Yeah,
the Paddler.
I think we're done with the Nashville,
Yeah.
the Blues.
One more team. Yeah. The Blues have the Blues for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Kansas City, our other expansion team in the Fire Conference. What are your thoughts on Kansas City and Dylan's team?
Just he an expansion team. Um,
I feel like he wanted to compete right away.
I
I
think he
don't think
did
that's the way to
too,
go
and
with
I think it blew up in his face a little bit because he's not, being sitting in last place in the Topaz. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be a tough one for him to recover from. I'm just looking at his system real quick. He's got 5 top 500 guys, so he's not. It takes a while to build that up from where we started these teams at. Um, but he should be in flip mode right now. He should be in flip mode. I've seen him
yeah,
active. He's been a little inactive this season, actually. He's missed a lot of exports. So he's another guy here. Just kind of needs to pick up the
yeah,
activity if he wants to turn the ship around, or he's
yeah.
going to be kind of like Nashville, I think.
Little less. If the more you neglect your team, the more you're.
Don't I know it? Trust me, the Cincinnati Reds in the Skyline League. Oh, train wreck. Yeah, dead last in most offensive categories outside of a little steal or a little speed. But his lineup's really bad. He's got no stars in this lineup. Um, Dan Michaels isn't terrible, but he's a DH, so how much value is there in that? He actually is terrible. I lied. No one's hitting above two. He's got one guy hitting 280. No one else is. Like that's pretty bad.
Yep. Yeah, offense is really bad, and it looks like his pitching is like middle of the pack, not decent, but not the best. So
Yeah, his number one starter's nice
yeah,
for a 25-year-old here. Expansion draft from St. Louis. I remember St. Louis losing this guy. I feel like that was a big loss.
yeah, I believe so too.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't get protected.
Yeah,
Lehman, also a free agent signing. Lehman's had a nice career. I'll say I don't hate Adrian Lehman. Longtime Kingston Frontenac for
yeah. It's
coming over and having a really great season last year. 240 innings pitched for Kansas City.
one through
2.85
five.
ERA.
1 through 5. The only one that is really gets me is Andy Kerrigan, but I mean he's 33, and
And obviously, there's backstory there. Like
yeah,
Dylan drafted Andy Kerrigan as an original GM in the
yeah,
expansion draft. Left the league for a few seasons, and when he came back, he took him.
yeah, and another draft. So full circle back for Andy Kerrigan.
Honestly, yeah. Outside of having a 3-11 record, he has a .8 R WAR, so he's actually pitching better than he has in 5 seasons.
Yeah,
But I mean, obviously, Kerrigan's at the end here.
yeah.
He
So I
signed for 2 more years on a minimum deal.
Yeah, I would say this about Kansas City. I think he's having a below average season because I think he should be above Nashville in my opinion. I like
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about that. Yeah, I think he's below expectations as
yeah,
well
yeah.
for some of the moves he made. Yeah.
So,
He did take Ali Holland from Louisville, and Holland's pitching really nice at the back end of the bullpen. 1.29 ERA and almost 50 innings pitched. He's got 18 saves, and I think that number would be higher if he wasn't on such a shitty team. Like 18 saves and 40 wins.
yeah.
So I don't hate his bullpen, even though they're not ranked very high. Actually, looking at his pitching ratings, he's got an above average pitching stat. Starters ERA is seventh, bullpen ERA is fifth. Some of these other stats aren't great. But his defense is okay too. So like it makes sense. It looks like he was trying to build his team around pitching, but the offense is just so bad. You just can't make up for how bad they are.
Yep. Agreed.
Um, Fielding wise, again, above average. He doesn't have any big liabilities. Actually, his shortstop's maybe the best shortstop in the league defensively. 17.5 zone rating. Um, Again, he's hitting under 200. So you take the good and the bad with a guy like that. But yeah, Kansas City could be doing better. But again, expansion team. Well, if we had to wager on which expansion team was going to make the playoffs first, I'm not sure I would have a confident bet. I mean, Syracuse has been pretty tough to determine. All right, let's rank them and then let's maybe take a break.
Oh, we're done after this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
um, rank them: Milwaukee, Virginia, uh, Oklahoma, Virginia, and then
Oh, we don't need to rank those teams. Who are the two wild cards
that's one of my two wild cards are
out of
Oklahoma
both
and
divisions
Louisville,
here?
and
Oklahoma's not a wild card. What are you talking about?
oh yeah, that's right.
Oh no, I guess that would make sense.
Yeah,
Three wild cards. So Oklahoma or no?
Oklahoma and Louisville,
Yep.
and and it's gonna be Bighorn, Oahu, and San Antonio. Is there another?
Okay.
But Oahu's
No,
gonna
don't
be
worry.
the wild card.
The San Antonio, Oklahoma City, and Louisville are your wild.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oahu's
I
the
think
wild card. Oahu's the wild card because you're gonna lose second place to San
I
Antonio.
got Virginia staying in third. Yeah, fuck off. I've got Virginia staying in third. That could possibly happen, but fuck off anyways. Um, I've got Oklahoma staying in third, or excuse me, Virginia staying in third, so they'll get a wild card. I think Louisville is going to be a wild card. Um, and yeah, I guess I would give it to San Antonio as well.
Yeah.
So I think we're pretty much the same there.
Yeah, I agree.
But you could totally change my opinion. You make a big trade deadline. So it's up to you if you want to
There was a trade
make that push.
during the podcast, so
There was, yeah.
there
Who got
was.
traded?
Well, the trade was
Oklahoma City. All right.
Oklahoma City sent some stuff, and he got himself a center fielder.
All right. There you go. So
So
I guess that makes sense. Does it? I don't know. I don't remember.
I don't
Oh,
remember
he's got a
either.
really great center fielder, so I assume that guy's going to go to a corner out position. But cool. All right. Well, that's it for the Fire Conference. Maybe we pick up and do the Ice Conference at some point. But Chris was way too slow, so we're gonna.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. Great doing a podcast. Yeah, maybe we'll catch you later.